A rough week for the banking industry.
The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank.
Rattling customers and stoking fears of another financial crisis.
This thing with the bank is not a Silicon Valley Bank alone issue. It's not a banking issue. It is a global issue in terms of all around the world, all sorts of entities, pension funds, insurance companies, all around the world. There was a lot of the buying of these government bonds, which have gone down in value, and the cost of money is high. And so the world is leverage long, okay? Long, meaning they own stuff, and they borrowed money to own it, and it's going down in value. The big issue is, okay, the government can come in and print the money and give money to anybody they want to give money to. But when they do that, that typically devalues the money. You have a certain amount of money up. They give you the deposits. You invest the money within these general guidelines. So you buy the government bonds. You think you're making a spread. And then what happens is the government bonds go down in value. At the same time as the people say, hey, I want to go take my money and put it someplace else. So you don't have enough money. And central banking works like that, except the government can print the money. So the risk when it's the government is not that you won't get the money back unless, like in this particular case, for a bank, it goes down in value, so you ain't going to get that back. You're going to sell it. What happens for the economy as a whole is then they print the money because they don't want defaults. There's a tolerable amount of defaults, and then you get past a tolerable amount of defaults and it just crushes everything. And so they print the money. If you're holding that debt, you are holding something that money will come back. If the money's hard, if that's going to be good money that's coming back, it's going to be hard for those entities to pay back because it's a lot relative to their income and cash flows to pay it. And that means that the default risk rises. However, because you're holding that, it means that the debt will be bad one way or another. It's either bad because they don't pay it, it needs a haircut for them to pay it, or because they do pay it with money that is going to be printed to come back. So think of it this way, just want to make this clear. When there was the position that interest rates got a lot below the inflation rate, you're losing buying power. There's no good reason to own that. If I look at inflation index bonds as an indicator, or other indicators, I'm losing percentage points to inflation by holding that bond. And then when and people realize that, well, you don't want to do that. And then the other side of it was you want to borrow and buy stuff because, money's free. So companies borrow and buy stuff, and individuals buy houses because interest-only loans on the houses. I mean, okay, I can buy a house, I can buy an apartment. And so, but that creates the imbalance where it's terrible to be a lender and a creditor, and it's good to be a borrower and do that. So that imbalance takes place. It produces inflation. And then when it produces inflation and so on, then you say, I don't want to own these things anymore. And then, and also the Federal Reserve says, I better fight inflation. They change things. And so by raising interest rates to levels in which it goes from minus 1.7% in inflation index bonds to plus 1.7%, and it makes it and it raises the short-term interest rates, real interest rates much higher, then lo and behold, all the people who did all those things get hurt. You as an individual should think about the total safety, including maybe that terrible scenario doesn't happen. Okay, that's what I'd like you to do. That's what I'd like you to do. And if you do that, you will come to a better balanced position. I want you to get balance. I want you to have enough saving, to have security, to build first level investing, which is the same as savings. It comes in tiers. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 on risk. And the first tier is, if everything goes wrong, I'm okay. And everything can be inflation, depression, anything, whatever it is. I lose my job. Whatever it is, I got that thing covered. Then your next level is, okay, what am I going to get the highest returns? What is my best bet? And then, two, that it's not just the investment, it's where am I? Am I in the middle of a fight? Like, I don't want to be in the middle of a fight. Okay, what's it going to be like? So it does have geographic implications. I don't know, maybe it's the state or the state you go to, or the city you go to, or the country you go to, or whatever it is, and there are certain things you can do to say this one's going to be better than that one. Let me give you an example of that. There are three things you could do based on these three influences. Are you going to be in a place and around people and circumstances that are financially strong? In other words, are they earning more than they're spending, and they have a good balance sheet? Because that means stability. If you can go through that and you have stability, places that are like that are better off. Number two, do they have internal conflict? Country, place, and is it a hospitable environment for me? Okay, that's the second. And then third, are they in the risk of an international war? I don't want to be where the fighting is. I really don't. I don't want to be safe and stable and so on. So this is a time for looking for such things.